Hello everyone and welcome to Now You're Playing with Power, a Nintendo podcast. My name is NYPPQuestions, and this, my friends, is episode 34. That's a solid, nice, chunky number, and we're in here, we're rolling, as always, with me and my buddy, and my friend, my co-host, it's Bally.
Hi, NYPPQuestions. I'm very good. I've mastered a game that I'm going to talk about in a bit, so I'm feeling quite good about it. I've also picked up the new 3DS, so yeah, I'm pretty high on life right now.
Things are going great, I have to say. I have by my side, Bally, as I've mentioned to you, a bottle of Magners, which has been left in the fridge overnight, and for some reason seems to have lost any of the fizz that is inherent within it. But as we both know, bubbles are not my forte, so I think...
you have to explain what Magners is to the Americans out there.
Okay, so Magners is a cider. It's an Irish cider. If you don't know what cider is, it's an alcoholic beverage which is made of apples.
See, I think cider means apple juice in America.
Does it actually?
I think it actually does. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Americans out there, but I think cider means apple juice. Or
wait, so you're the one who spends most of your time in the Americas, Bally, when you're over there.
Yes.
I would have thought that over the years you would have been able to pick this out.
Yeah, I've not got a definitive answer for this, but I just have a feeling that that cider means something different. Or actually, maybe I think cider might mean like appetizer, like fizzy apple juice.
Right, but non-alcoholic.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's non-alcoholic, but anyway, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm drinking some, so I have this accompanying me on my journey through talking about video games. So hopefully it'll be a fun ride, and we'll be able to get some good stuff going.
Excellent.
So yeah, after that non sequitur intro, let's just get through with the real show, Bally. How about you tell all the fine folks at home what we're going to be discussing this week?
As usual, we have what we've been playing. We have a few of your emails, and then it's back. It's the Jukebox. It's coming back. It's NYPPQuestions' turn to test me. I gave him quite a grueling lineup of songs last time, so it's going to be painful.
Well, we'll see, Bally. I have some things in mind, so we'll get to that, and that should be a good time.
Colin McRae rally, it's gonna sneak up on me. It's gonna sneak up.
You know, I actually, yeah, jeez. Wait, are you referencing? Do you have a Colin McRae rally on a GBA or something? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I was. And you mentioned it when I uploaded all my games to Backlog.
Right, yeah. No, because I'm actually thinking I own Colin McRae Rally on the PlayStation 1.
Yes.
Because I actually had a racing wheel for the PS1, which was like I got it with Gran Turismo 2, I believe it was. And I had a Colin McRae Rally game, and all I remember is just like using that racing wheel a couple of times, then putting it away and never touching it again. But yeah, that's interesting that we both somehow own a game from a franchise that like we literally couldn't give less of a shit about. But
it's a good game.
Yeah. I'm sure the GBA one is great.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bally, how about we cut all this nonsense that we've been spouting off here. Let's get into some real talk about real video games. And how about you go first?
So I've been playing a number of things. I should mention I've been continuing with Fire Emblem 7, having a very good time on that. I think I'm up to chapter 14, I want to say, so trundling along with that.
And is it offering any more challenge so far? You're now into like the Eliwood storyline. Do you think that they are bringing more elements in? Is it working similarly? Are they throwing new things at you that they're not teaching you? How's it gone?
There's nothing overly new that's coming at me, and like there's still a bit of time before you get your magic users back for the Eliwood story. So I'm looking forward to once you get your magic users back and the enemies start getting mixed up a bit more again, because the final chapters of Lynn's story I found quite challenging. So I think the earlier chapters of Eliwood's are slightly easier than the end ones of Lynn's. So yeah, no, it's good fun, and I'm sure I will talk about it plenty in weeks to come. I also picked up a new 3DS.
Excellent. Yes, this is a great thing to talk about because this is the fresh new hot hardware release from Nintendo. Came out on the 13th of February alongside Majora's Mask 3D and Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Although I believe that you have picked up neither of those games, Bally.
No.
Just the system itself. So you went with the XL, correct?
I did go with the XL, and I must say the first impressions I have of it are incredibly positive. Now
Well, you have to understand that you came from the original sandwich style classic 3DS.
Yeah, I did, and I'm not going to lie, the biggest impact of this new system is, for me, the size of the screen. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that the added things that the new 3DS offers are amazing. So, for example, I think the head tracking for the 3D works incredibly well. I've been playing a lot of Pilot Wings, which I'll get to in a second, but the 3D in that game, I personally think, goes for, like, it's the most three-dimensional game I've played on 3DS to date.
That's really shocking considering it is like a launch game, right?
Yes.
It's one of the, although it makes a bit of sense, right? When you think the big deal when 3DS was launched was the 3D, like it was a key part of its marketing and everything. I feel like they've maybe pedaled back a little bit on that aspect. Although the new 3D has 3D is a big part of it. With the release of the 2DS and everything, they kind of stepped back from that.
Yeah, so it's really good that they went back and said, no, it's the 3DS, and we're going to enhance the 3D. Excellent, and it works really well. I'd never really had a problem too much with ghosting before. I mean, out of all the games I did have an issue ghosting with, it was only parts of Pilot Wings, and I'm not going to lie, I think there's still parts of that game where it does still ghost even with the new 3DS, and I think that's just to do with the game design, not necessarily the new 3DS. But it just looks so much better and more crisp, and it's the ability that you can just relax while you play the 3DS with the 3D on, because naturally your head just sort of moves about a little bit whenever you're playing any game on whatever console. So the ability that your head can just move about a little bit, and you know that it will track your head movement and align the 3D to your range of vision, it just works so well. So I was really impressed by Pilot Wings. The other aspects of the new 3DS that I'm loving are, it's just so quick to load everything. Like really, really easy to load up the Miiverse, for example, take a screenshot, do a quick post, go back into a game. Really quick to download stuff. Like I've already downloaded Gunman Clive 1.
Well, granted, that's a really small game, so I'm not sure how much of a good sample test it was.
Yeah, it's a very small game, and it went straight on the system. I also picked up a Pikmin background just to enjoy my new system, and
you just want something fresh, Bally, don't you? You want to be like, oh, I got this new system, let me do a fancy thing.
So I think like the speed with which you can just go around all these different parts of the menu and in and out of software is just greatly improved, and it really helps.
And you tried Smash Brothers with it, right? How's that working?
Yeah, Smash Brothers is excellent with it. Like I was saying with the 3D before, the head tracking is perfect. It loads up so fast. You can now post with Smash Brothers to the Miiverse. I've not actually done that yet, but I now have the ability to, which is fantastic. And one thing I've not mentioned yet, and this is probably the least exciting thing, or the worst thing I have to say about the system, and that is, now this isn't entirely bad, but basically, yeah, the C-stick nub. For anyone who's in any doubt, there is absolutely zero movement on this nub. It is genuinely a fixed rubber nub. Yeah, like I said, exactly.
Yeah.
There is zero give in that nub, and basically, it just, if you think that, oh, I'm a C-stick smasher in Smash Brothers, when the second I get the new 3DS, it'll feel great and I'll be able to pull off all my smashes. I think it feels distinctly different. Now, as someone who doesn't normally C-stick smash in Smash Brothers, I'm maybe not the right person to ask, but I personally think it feels completely different to, say, using a GameCube controller or a Wii U Pro controller.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of imagined that directional input would be hard because there's not really anything to gauge it on. It's like if you're gonna move your finger across it, is that gonna input as an up smash or a side smash? Like the way that you know scroll over it, I'm not sure like how that works. Did you actually try it when we played on 3DS?
Yeah, and that is the positive, is that even though there's no give in it whatsoever, it is actually really responsive, which is really weird, and it's a really weird feeling to get used to. Because
did you ever have any experience with like laptop nubs like this? Because my dad used to have a laptop like ages and ages ago, back in maybe early 2000s, late 90s, which had this thing in the center, like before trackpads were a big thing on laptops.
Yes. No, my dad had one as well, and I used it ever so briefly at times, and I didn't like it much.
I mean, I got used to it at the time because it was the only thing that was there, and you had to basically. But I was just wondering, you know, if you had that kind of context there. For this,
so I mean, like, and when you pause on Smash Brothers, and like, I think for camera control it works great because, like I said, it's so responsive, but I just feel like it takes a lot of getting your head around in terms of using it as a C-stick in Smash Brothers. That's all.
Have you gone back to the Codename Steam demo yet with the new 3DS?
No, and I really
I'd be interested to
should
see how you feel about the camera control there and how much better it works.
Yeah, and that's something I definitely need to do, and I'll just say right now, I think it will be really great because it's really great when you pause and rotate the camera in Smash Brothers. But yeah, I definitely need to test that out. Overall, really happy with the system. I don't think the system transfer was pretty simple for me because I hardly had any software on.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. This is a big sticking point for a lot of people. Bally, you didn't have loads of stuff on your 3DS, which is why I think like the way that you did it made sense for your situation, but other people may not want to go down this route.
So yes, exactly. So I only used the 2 GB SD card that you get with the original 3DS. So that's a standard 2 GB SD card. The new 3DS comes with an inbuilt 4 GB micro SD card. So I hadn't filled up my 2 GB on my SD card, so it just made sense to wirelessly through the internet, which you have to use for some reason. It's to do with
it's
accounts.
to check the licenses.
Yeah, just to check licenses, accounts, etc. So through the internet, you then transfer that data to the brand new 4 GB micro SD card. So the controversial part is that if you don't do that and you want to, for example, have a 32 GB SD card on your original 3DS, you have to upgrade to a larger micro SD card. Now the problem with this is that you have to undo a couple of bolts, a couple of screws on the back of the new 3DS, and you have to pull off the I've not done this, of course, and this was a big reason why I didn't want to do it, but you have to pull off the plastic, and apparently it makes the most horrible cracking sound, like you're breaking the system.
Oh jeez, that's not nice.
And then you have to input your brand new micro SD card, and it's just that process that I managed to avoid, and I'm glad I did, but I mean, one day there's the chance that I will need to upgrade my SD card, and I am not looking forward to having to, first of all, pick up a micro SD card with a reader that I then plug into my laptop, take out the other micro SD card, get my save files across onto my laptop, swap them across, unscrew this thing or whatever, put it back in, and yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But there's always the chance that I won't even reach the limit because I never even filled up 2 GB. Now I've got 4 GB. I could actually even afford to download a couple of full AAA titles in any case, but probably no more than 2, I'd say.
There are a lot of curious, strange design choices in this thing, considering, you know, it's this new product that Nintendo, generally when their iterations happen, they improve on stuff. They seem to have, like, gone backwards in loads of areas where, like, the stylus is no longer on the side, like on the XL, the original 3DS XL, it's, like, on the bottom, as you said, or something weird.
It's on the bottom, and, like, I mean, the criticism of the original 3DS was that it's in the back.
Yeah, and it's like a really awkward place to get it. And like the perfect area, they figured this out on the freaking DS Lite. Like on the DS Lite, they had it right, and they keep like moving it around to different places. Like, what the fuck are you had the solution. Just stick with the solution.
Exactly. I mean, for the original 3DS XL, is it in the top, bottom, or back? Top, side, or back?
No, it's in the side. It's
In the
it's where
side.
the DS Lite has
See,
it.
the
Yes.
side is just far better than the
Right.
top
Yeah,
or
it makes
the
the most
bottom.
sense.
Also, the game slot is in the bottom, I should say.
Yeah.
Now, I actually don't. I actually think that is a worse spot to have it than on the back. And I've only done this once so far, but I really did panic. I don't think I even told you this, MBZ. But
Oh, jeez.
so I'm about to tell you a little story about Pilot Wings. But before I do that, basically, I completed Pilot Wings. That's the story. But anyway, after I completed it, I was just my hand was literally just resting on the bottom of the new 3DS, and I basically by accident pressed ever so slightly on the cartridge, and obviously it's spring loaded. But even not even pushing it in far enough to like properly eject it, I just tapped it and it didn't eject, but the contacts broke off and then broke back on. So the game was like, you've removed the cartridge, and I was like, you must reset the system. I was like, shit.
Did it save your progress?
So,
basically,
yes,
is what you're worried about.
Exactly, and it did save my progress. I was past the point at which it had saved, which I was relieved about. But it's just in a bit of a stupid place. Like, you're not.
Yeah, that makes no sense. That is something that is obviously going to end up happening to people if you put it at the bottom of the system. Like, just get it out of the way of people so that stuff doesn't happen. And like, I think the smart thing about like something like the PS Vita is the cartridge slot has a cover. Like, you basically close it up, so there is no danger whatsoever of you getting to it and ejecting it. And this is the same with a lot of phones. Like, the SD card area and stuff is covered up. On the 3DS,
exactly.
the SD card is covered up.
Perfect.
So why don't they have like some kind of thing for the 3D? Like, if they're gonna put it on the bottom, have a solution where there is a cover for it so that it doesn't screw. As we said, weird design choices happening here, but. You know,
I mean, overall, the good is outweighing the bad, and I thought it was quite a good deal for £180. I'm really happy to upgrade, and obviously skipping the upgrade in the middle of the XL, it was an obvious choice for me.
Yeah, it came along really perfectly because you were very much on the edge of being like, oh, I really need to upgrade, I need an XL, and then Nintendo announces this, and you know, you're one of those consumers who, like, they announced this for Japan early, and you're like, well, fuck it, I know about this, I'm gonna wait, and so they cost themselves, you know, an XL sale by doing that, but I think it's for the better, certainly.
So overall, I'm really happy. But yeah, in terms of what I've been playing Pilot Wings, like I mentioned. So I picked this up on launch day of the original 3DS, and I only owned like.
So did I, actually. It was the only launch game that I was interested in either.
So I absolutely loved this game. I played almost all the missions. I would try so hard to get a perfect in all the missions, and then I managed to get right up until like the final 10 or so 12 missions and getting a perfect in every single one. And then about a year ago I played through about 10 of those 12 missions, so I was basically left with 2 missions in the entire game that I hadn't got a perfect in. That basically I decided, right, I've got my new 3DS, I love this game, I really want to complete these final 2 missions and get a perfect score on every single mission in this game. And it took me about, I'd want to say 3 to 4 hours in total. But
what?
Yeah.
Really? For 2 missions?
For 2 missions.
3 to 4? Did you legit spend that long?
I think about that, yeah. Maybe a little under 3 hours, but yeah.
You are a fucking madman, Bally.
So I perfected every single mission now in Pilot Wings Resort, which I'm very happy about. And
you have just been listening to Bally's 100% Minute. Join us next week where he goes through Mario Galaxy.
I've really not 100%ed many games, and...
But I feel it's something that you care about way more than I do. I used to care about it quite a lot. I used to care about doing every damn thing in a game. But at this point, like, I have so many to play. I have so many... Like, I would much rather move on to a brand new experience and find something different than stick with the same thing and go and go and go. But,
yeah, you know. I love returning to games, and I do sometimes like 100% in games, and... Like, since we started this podcast, I've been really strict with myself, as I'm sure many listeners have realized that, like, I will religiously go back to my Ambassador games and previous, say, GameCube or Wii games, or games that I downloaded a long time ago that have resurfaced and I've played, like Mega Man 2 that you gifted me ages ago. And
Yes, absolutely.
so
yeah.
there's I don't know. There's something wrong with me. You're right. I'm quite over the top when it comes to just meticulously working my way through games and the whole backlog thing.
Hey, it works for you.
It
so
works
I'm
for
not
me.
gonna
I
criticize
enjoy
it.
it, and yep, that's another one ticked off the list. I
Excellent.
classed it as mastered on my backloggery.
There you go. Not many games under that
not
class
many,
there. Is
not
there?
many. So I enjoyed that. And then the other game that I've been spending most of my time playing this week is I completed Bit Trip Runner 2, or the full title, which I have noted in front of me.
Okay, here we go.
Bit Trip presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm Alien.
Yes,
So-
indeed. And it will be narrated to you every time you open the game by the one and only Charles Martinet.
Yes, and for those who don't know, he voices Mario, and amongst many other characters, including Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi. I think that's all of them.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
so. I'm not sure if that's his full spectrum, but I know he does pretty much the entire Mario universe.
Yeah,
So.
which is really, and it's really cool that they got him in this game. So for those who don't know anything about this game, it's a 2D platformer endless runner game, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, the interesting thing is it has the same setup as an endless runner, like the kind of thing that you have like Temple Run and stuff on iOS,
Yeah.
right? But the levels aren't randomized; they are designed, and they're not endless. So I don't know. It's a weird
Yeah.
class to classify. I would say just it's called a runner. It's not, you don't have to prefix it with endless there because it isn't. So the levels are pre-designed and they are really interesting and intricate and really hard when it gets down to the brass tacks of it.
And
Absolutely.
as the name suggests, rhythm is a really, really big part of this game, and like the music is so important in the design of the game, because every jump and every thing that you're deflecting, or every panel that you're breaking through, is all done based on rhythm. So like a little beep or a boop will go off in the music every time you say jump over an enemy, and it's just so synchronized that you could almost, this is exaggerating, but you can like almost play the game with your eyes closed, because it's all about the rhythm. So if you could actually memorize the obstacles on a given level, and if you have memorized them, you could do it based on the music, because it is rhythm based.
Bally, it wouldn't surprise me if one year on Awesome Games Done Quick,
Someone
a
did
speedrunner comes along and blindfold does a run of Bit Trip Runner 2.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me, because it totally is the sort of thing. And obviously, as it isn't randomized and levels aren't just, things that are pulled out of an algorithm, you can memorize it and you can learn all these paths and be pretty damn skilled at it. So.
And I honestly think that this is probably the most solid and slick 2D platformer I've ever played. Like, I genuinely think that the controls and the way they implement different elements, so they gradually add elements, for example, sliding under enemies or kicking down wooden boards, and there's these other things, there's like these green blocks that fly at you that you have to deflect. So there's about 3 or 4 or 5 different things that your guy does.
And the nice thing about it is they teach you this stuff over a long period of time. So they'll introduce a new mechanic, they'll let you feel it out for a couple of levels, and then they'll be like, okay, how about we mix this with another mechanic? So not only are you now sliding, but you're now slide jumping at the same time. So you're having to pass through 2 enemies that you wouldn't be able to otherwise get through unless you are like planked but also jumping through them, and so they continually build this up and until you get to this point where there are so many different things happening and you have to be so focused and alert. And it's very interesting because I went back to play a couple of levels today, as you were saying, hey, check out these high scores, and I was like, I can kick your ass at this. I jump into a random world, I go to world 3, and I've just forgotten everything, so I don't know what buttons do which, and where, how I'm supposed to get through everything, and I just die and die and die again. I'm like, shit. Well, if I want to get back into this, I pretty much have to go back to the beginning and relearn it.
You genuinely have to train your brain through these meticulous, gradual things that they add on. It's really, really clever. And
Yeah.
I've decided that this is one of these niche things in games that I've just decided I love, and that is running or platforming on a 2D plane, but the world around you, the art or the graphics, are three-dimensional. So like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze or Trying to, this game is running on a 2D plane in a 3D world, and it, like, artistically, I just absolutely love that style, and this game does it so well.
And I think that's the way that Nintendo are positioning most of their platformers these days, right?
Yeah.
Like the way that they've brought them through the years. I wouldn't necessarily class New Super Mario Brothers under this,
But
because the backgrounds aren't really that three-dimensional.
Yeah.
They're kind of more like paintings in the background, but
Or like one game that we're both interested in picking up is Kirby Triple Deluxe, which I know is very much so running on a 2D plane in a 3D
and that
world.
thing uses like the depth perception as well for you to like move between different planes. So that's one that I'm really interested in picking up. So.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, absolutely loved it. It's really cool though, because little things like when you when you die, you immediately get restarted back at the last checkpoint. And what's really cool is that the song, even though the song is like beeping and bopping along and you're really getting into it, when you die, the song seamlessly restarts in time with like the rhythm of the level when you respawn. So like it does it quite seamlessly, and if you listen out for it, you can actually hear like them they play like this thing over the music that allows them to restart it at the point at which is in time with the level, if that makes sense.
No, they have to do that, because otherwise it would be out of sync.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It wouldn't work.
It's just really well done, and it's a great progression. Absolutely love the art style. They even changed the art style up a bit for the final world, and I really loved that. I won't really spoil it for people who don't really know what I'm talking about. But overall, absolutely loved it.
I think one of the hidden gems of Bit Trip Runner 2 is just the high score system, where it pulls your friends list and it will show you what score someone has on each individual level, on the whole world, on the whole game. And what this really convinced me to do at the time when I was playing this, it first came out, was to go back to areas when I'd already upgraded and I had all these new power-ups, like the dancing, which basically allows you to gain points like just when you're on a flat plane and just, do whatever you want to. And to go back and to try and get to the top of the leaderboard and to beat the people who were there on my friends list. And a few of them, I have people from Nintendo World Report from the podcast there, and I listen to these guys every week, and I'm like, you know what, I can do better than this score that they've set. I can get higher than Scott Thompson on this level. Damn well am I going to go ahead and do it, and I did, and it just feels really good, and it's something that I don't think enough games on Nintendo platforms build into their infrastructure. It's something that's been around for a very long time on 360 and on PS3, the idea of leaderboards and the idea of your friends list being pulled into the game and having these kind of back and forths, so even if you finish the game, you're continuing to play it because you want to get better and better and be more and more perfect in your execution. And it's brilliant, and I thought it was just a really fun way of doing things.
And it's such a simple idea that they implement really well, and it really does add a lot to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think
it's
that's all that. Sorry, I ran on for a very long time there, but there was definitely a lot to cover. But yeah.
Well, you just bought a new Nintendo console.
It only happens once in a lifetime, does it? Well, once in a generation.
I don't think once in a lifetime is completely accurate, Bally, as we have probably witnessed.
It happens rarely, but yeah, I'll have
rarely.
Much more to talk about on that topic in the future. But NBZ, on to
indeed.
you.
On to me indeed. So Bally, the beginning of 2015. The beginning of 2015. I told myself, I told our podcast audience, 2015 is the year of Castlevania for me, right?
Mine was the year of Metroid last year, so yep. You've got to have a themed year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where's Luigi? Where's his? He's off having his own sodding old time. I said this is the year of Castlevania, but that was dependent upon Nintendo getting their asses into the European eShop and damn well releasing the Virtual Console games on GBA, the 3 Castlevania games.
I think they've been listening to the podcast.
Well, I hope they have been, because these came out in October, which made a lot of sense, right? Because it's a Halloween, right? A Castlevania, spooky, scary, vampires and bats and everything. So that's what they did for North America, and it's like, yeah, that's a really smart thing because it's tying in with a Halloween idea, and these are fantastic GBA games. And they didn't do them in Europe at the same time, and it kind of got me worried because sometimes we have this lag between Virtual Console, where stuff kind of takes time to get out in different regions, but they released the first of these, which in America is called Castlevania Circle of the Moon. Now, Bally, I don't really have experience at the time when these games came out in Europe of, knowing anything about them. So I assumed, naively, such as I generally am, that the game in Europe would also be called Castlevania Circle of the Moon. So, as I go through the eShop on my daily ritual and looking through, I come across this game. It's on the Game Boy Advance, and it's called simply Castlevania. And I was on Skype with you at the time. I was like, what the fuck? Is this... So here's my thought process. Have they taken those NES games that they released on the GBA and released the NES ROM of the original NES Castlevania on GBA on the Virtual Console, like they did with, Mario Advance 3 and all that stupid, like, the really ridiculous re-releases on GBA? Are they actually releasing that alongside the original? Because the original NES Castlevania is on the eShop anyway. I was like, wait a second, this is weird. So I go into it and I look at it, I'm like, I watched the trailer, I'm like, this doesn't look like that game. This isn't that game. I'm like, wait a second. Is this Circle of the Moon? And it turns out, Bally, that in Europe, they named Castlevania Circle of the Moon Castlevania. They simply called it
You can't be mentioning those moons in Europe. It's highly controversial.
No! What the... So this just completely confounded me, and it had actually been out for like a week or so at this point, and I had no idea, because their naming convention defies fucking belief. Like, what? In what universe does that make any sense? There's the original Castlevania, and like every single game after that has had a subtitle or like a numbered sequel, and yet I don't know. Bally, it confused me, and I think I need to say this on this show because there may be some people still in Europe who want to play this game who don't know it's fucking on the eShop already. So it is. All you need to do is find Castlevania. It's there. So don't worry about that. It exists, and you can play it. And I have been playing at Bally. It has been a pretty good time so far. There are a lot of issues I have with it, and I think the first one I want to touch upon is the way that the character moves.
Mm-hmm.
The first power-up you get is running. So I was like kind of stunned because, when I start this game, my character's walking really slowly. I'm like, is there a run button? Is there any way to fix this and sort this out? But he's just like...
Were you scared the whole game was going to be that slow?
I was scared that, like, it was going back to the original Castlevania where, your character is really heavy and, like, slow-moving and chunky. I was like, oh, God, I kind of don't want to play a game where you're like that. But no, you do get a ability to run, but it's a power-up, and the way that you have to run is to double-tap the button. So you double-tap forward to start running, and I cannot tell you how fucking infuriating that is. It makes no sense. Like, why would you not just start the game with the character's ability to move at that speed instantly? Because I'll tell you, there's no point in this game where I'm going to be walking around. I'm always running from area to area, and it just doesn't, like, just from a design perspective, it makes no sense. And I think that leads nicely into how they've designed the upgrades in this game, because they're not really that interesting. They're nowhere near as different and varied as something like Symphony of the Night or even Super Metroid. They are generally ways in which to just move to different areas. So one of them is now you can move heavy boxes, and there are rooms in this game where they are blocked by heavy boxes, and if you don't have this power up, you can't get through them. There is areas where you have to get a double jump to get there, and until you get the double jump you can't get through there. There's a super jump which you like fly super high through the air, and there's like towers which you can't get to the top of unless you have the super jump. So the power-ups aren't as such interesting things. They are just there to provide different ways of getting around the castle, and that really disappoints me. Especially coming off Symphony of the Night, having the bat power-up, and just the things like the mist, and I talked about on that show how the mist was so fascinating because it can be used in battle as well as outside for puzzle solving, because you can basically avoid damage and also, phase through things. And there's nothing like that in this game, so it was really annoying.
Talk me through some of the other power-ups. What were some of your favourites?
Well, the way that they kind of do things in this game is a little different. They have this system which is based around cards, and so you have like two rows. You have two rows of cards. The top row is like an action thing, and the bottom row is like an elemental addition. So, for example, your main weapon is a whip, just like any other Castlevania, or most other Castlevanias. So you can basically change like the element of your whip, so you can have a thorn whip or an ice whip or a flame whip or a poison whip, and there are loads of these different variations, and they can be used for different situations. You can freeze people. There's a stone one which will turn people to stone. You kind of got your standard elemental things going on here, nothing too fancy, nothing too out of the ordinary. But then if you switch up your action button and change it from the kind of the main whip variation, you can make it like a defensive thing, but you're using the same card. So now for the defensive option card, you can have like a circle of ice balls that rotate around you to defend yourself, or you can have poison gas that spews out everywhere you run as you're just going through the area. So any enemy who is kind of hit in the range of these things that are encircling you are taking damage. So it's a really interesting way that you kind of play with things there. The one annoying problem with the card system is that they are random. You get them from killing enemies, but enemies drop them completely at random, and there's no other way to kind of like grind for them or just like sit there and find an enemy that's dropped one all the time, because they won't. It's just, you're just going to get lucky every once in a while, and you're going to have to be on the ball to pick it up, because otherwise you're going to miss it. So it's a little bit of a gutting thing.
How does this game compare to the PS1 Castlevania you played?
I think Circle of the Moon takes a lot of the DNA of Symphony of the Night, but ultimately doesn't make as interesting a game. It's really good. It's still great. And okay, you have to understand, like, giving this kind of faint praise is only so much coming from me, because I love all these style of games. I am a sucker for anything. Give me a Metroid style map with the squares and the areas and unlocking and abilities. Give me backtracking. Give me cool powers and upgrades and really nice bosses, and you have me. Like, I'm not going to really I'll practically play fucking anything that has that structure, because it's the sort of thing where I will just sit there and play and play and play and play and not put down. I have it as a podcast game most of the time, so I'm just chilling there, playing on the game. I should say I haven't played this on the TV yet, and it's kind of perfect on the gamepad, because it's a Game Boy Advance game anyway, right? You're going to be sitting there and playing it portably no matter what, so And
this is the first Game Boy Advance game you've downloaded on the Wii U, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the first GBA game I've had, and interestingly enough, I haven't gone with the smoothing option.
Really?
I've just gone with the standard sprite, and it looks great to me. It looks fine, especially for this game. So I'm not too worried about that. It holds up. I feel maybe if I were to play it on the TV, I'd feel a little differently about it. I probably would, actually, because it's blown up and right in front of my face. But it's been fine with that so far. It's not really, it's not really been too much of an issue. But I think the one thing I do want to draw attention to is there is a bit of a problem with the difficulty in this game, where it spikes at horrible places, especially when it comes to bosses. I've been posting some Miiverse images here of my playthrough, and one of the bosses I got to is this goat, and he basically is this giant face in the wall. It's like a it's like a crucified goat. It's really weird. Like his hands have been it's like a goat who is about to be having his head cut off by a guillotine. So his hands are like through on the side, and like his head is in the center. And he's really fucking hard. He takes a lot of patience and determination to get through. And that is the case with loads of the bosses in this game. You can beat them if you are careful and you're dodging out of the way and getting in hits, but it will take a long time. It'll take a lot of persistence for you to be able to break through. And the problem I have is that if you want to get through these bosses more easily, you're going to have to grind, and that sucks, because all it means is you're going through killing enemies, phasing out the room, phasing in the room, killing enemies, getting your experience up and up and up, because it fundamentally has the same leveling mechanics as Symphony of the Night, like the RPG system, where every enemy you kill gives you experience, and your stats will be boosted as a result. And I did that for quite a long time. I did that for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half or so of just grinding enemies over and over to get like 4 or 5 levels up so that I could go back and fight this boss. So I don't really like that aspect, and it feels like they don't have enough progression between the bosses, because after that guy, I went through like one area which wasn't very long, and I was already at the next boss. I was like, really? Like, you didn't really give me that many enemies here to make the curve of my leveling up work, so I don't know. It didn't really happen for me in that sense. But, I have been pretty negative here, but I will insist that I still think Circle of the Moon is a fun game to play. It has really great aspects to it. The music certainly is one of the best things about it. Castlevania music, as we alluded to at the beginning of the segment, some of the best classic game music of all time. And that song that you started singing at the segment, Bally, there is a remix of it that I've just come across in one of the new areas I've got to, and it is fan-fucking-tastic. So, if nothing else, I'm sitting there grinding away at enemies. I have a great soundtrack to back it up. So I'm not too worried about that, in all honesty. So yeah, I'm probably a couple of hours away from the end, close to finishing it, but it's been a fun ride. And the next game, Harmony of Dissonance, actually got released last week on the eShop. So I'll probably give it a little bit of a break, but I will be jumping into that later on this year, and we'll see how that compares to Circle of the Moon. But I think we're going to stop there for this segment. We've been running a little bit late. Join us, however, after the break, when we will be discussing some of the emails you have sent our way. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the show. We are in our second segment, and as tradition dictates, this is where we take a gander at the emails that you have sent to us over the past few weeks. And Bally will tell you where you, if you are a new person who wants to send us stuff, can send it to in the future.
NYPPQuestions@gmail.com. We are running low. I always say this, but I mean, this time it's for real. Like we are
for legitimate reasons now, so you need to start getting your pens in action and digitally typing to our email address. So we look forward to them, but we have a good batch this week. So Bally, why don't you go ahead and read the first one?
First email is from Tom. What's up from the UK? I have been a big fan of this show. I've always wanted to do this, so here I go. I recently got a Wii U for Christmas because I wanted to play Smash Bros. On the big screen, and I really wanted the special CD as well as Mew fucking 2. Damn, Nintendo knows how to get my money. So I was wondering what games should I get for the system. I have Smash, Mario Kart 8 and 3D World. I've got £30 left and I think I'm going to get a Link amiibo, the Metroid trilogy and maybe Shovel Knight. But if you have any other suggestions, I would love to hear them. Please keep in mind my age, which is 13, so no Bayonetta 2. Thanks, Tom.
All right, Tom. Thank you very much for the email. He has a good pick so far of Wii U
Yeah,
games.
good selection.
Yeah, I say those three are like the essentials, right? The Smash, Mario Kart, and 3D World are like the core games that you should have for the system. Bally, is there anything jumps out to you that you think would fit for Tom here? £30 left. Should he go to the eShop and buy maybe a couple of cool indie games? Should he go after Metroid Prime Trilogy if he hasn't played that before? Where are you landing here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think your picks of Metroid Trilogy and Shovel Knight are great, and those are great games. I mean, I've only played Metroid Prime 1, but yeah, absolute great value for Metroid Prime Trilogy. I would.
Unfortunately, he can't get in on the cheaper deal, but still, it's still good for 20 quid. You know, it's not too
absolutely.
bad. So.
One of my top Wii U games that I absolutely love that you don't actually own, NBZ, is Pikmin 3.
Yes,
I really love that game. I talked about it quite near when the podcast started, and I still need to go back and play Pikmin 1 and 2, but I definitely recommend Pikmin 3. It's got a good learning curve. It's got so much content. It's suitable for someone who is 13 if that's an issue, and yeah, it's just an absolutely beautiful game that doesn't really get talked about a lot anymore, but it's definitely one of the big heavyweights, I would say, on the Wii U.
Yeah, Pikmin 3 is a good choice, and I think it's interesting because it probably will introduce him to a genre that he may not be familiar with. You know, it's more of a like strategy style game, and I think I can't really speak from experience, but I think Pikmin does a good job of kind of introducing you. Does Pikmin 3 have a good way of like showing you the systems and helping you to understand things?
Absolutely. I mean, because there was such a big gap between 2 and 3. They basically changed up and fixed a lot of the stuff that people complained about in 2. For example, there were these caves, which were a bit like dungeons almost, where you'd go down levels and it was a dead end. Like you couldn't come back out until you'd either died or reached the end or something. So that was a bit difficult with Pikmin 2. So yeah, they fixed that. The game's absolutely beautiful. Like I said, great learning curve and so much content because there's all the mission modes for multiplayer and everything. I've spent an awful lot of time with that game, and it's really worth it.
Yeah, it's one that one day I'll probably get around to, Bally. I think you have the physical copy of this, don't you?
Yeah, so I've got the physical copy. I would gladly lend it to you, NBZ.
Absolutely. Well, perhaps one day. For me, I think there seems to be like a 2D platforming gap here in his lineup, and he has 3D World, but I would like to recommend what is probably the best 2D platformer on the Wii U. That's Rayman Legends, which is a really fantastic game. Well, okay, yes, but I don't know. I'm kind of keeping in mind his age as well, and I think that Donkey Kong could be a real frustration if
tough,
he picks it up and can't get to grips with it. Great thing about Rayman is it gets rid of all the bullshit that makes Donkey Kong hard. There are no lives, but it still keeps a nice level of challenge there, and also has some really neat uses of the gamepad. There's extra content from Origins if you've never played that, so there's even more levels to go through, and it's just a beautiful, gorgeous looking, fantastic playing game. Very different kind of physics and stuff from Mario, but I think the Rayman stuff works really nicely, and I have to give a good recommendation for that. And you can probably find it pretty cheap these days, actually. The thing with Rayman Legends is it's not published by Nintendo. It is an Ubisoft game, and so obviously, the price is actually going to go down on it, unlike something like Donkey Kong, which you probably will still struggle to find for a good price at this point in time.
I mean, Ubisoft did a sale a while back when I picked up Assassin's Creed, and I was very close to picking up Legends, even though you own the game, NBZ, and that was because it was as cheap as like £10.
Yes,
for a
yeah.
really great 2D platformer. So there's no reason why Ubisoft might not do another one of those sales in the next few months. So I'd look out for that.
Yeah, and just speaking of sales in general, I just keep an eye out on the eShop. There are often loads of sales for indie games. You could probably, for your 30 quid, pick up a combination of Shovel Knight and SteamWorld Dig and Guacamelee and The Swapper and Teslagrad and loads and loads of really fantastic indie games available, and I would recommend all 5 of those. They are
Trying
just...
to as well.
Trying to absolutely
That's
has been
always
kicking
on
around for a
sale,
long
which
time.
is good.
Yes, yes, and of course Bit Trip Runner, which you talked about today. So loads of great indie games. Don't kind of think that Nintendo System's all about Nintendo stuff, because they have got a lot of the indie side covered. So yeah, absolutely good stuff. So I hope those are some good suggestions for you, Tom. I hope you enjoy them. So yeah, excellent.
Our next email is from James. Hi, NBZ and Bally, writing to you both from Vancouver, Canada. Well, that's awesome how far away you are, but anyway.
Bally obviously been to Canada many times.
I have,
so.
but I've never been to Vancouver, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately.
My cousin actually used to live there, so I really want to go one day. So yeah, on with the email. Let me just start off by saying that I'm a new listener to your podcast. I only started last week, but I've been downloading older episodes and catching up. You guys have great content, so please keep it up. I have 2 questions for you today. Number 1, I am a huge sports fan. I love NHL, hockey, and NFL football. And I was wondering if either of you guys are big sports fans, and if so, which sports do you watch, and which ones do you watch the most, and which teams or athletes do you follow? Shall we answer that question, then move on to the second question?
Sure, let's go ahead and answer this, Bally. So you're a much bigger sports fan than I am.
I am. It is probably my biggest addiction is watching sport, and yeah, basically I watch an awful lot of English Premier League football, or soccer as you Americans would say. I follow.
Absolutely,
I'm a
yes.
big Chelsea FC fan, so we are top of the table looking down on everyone this season, which is very good. I watch loads of other stuff. I watch a lot of international rugby, a lot of tennis, golf. I watch all the big sporting events pretty much.
I'm not so much into watching sports in general. I used to watch football for quite a long time when I was younger, but then I just kind of fell out of it and didn't get back to it too much. The big thing for me is probably cricket is my most watched thing. I'll watch all the big tennis events. I'm a fan of the Olympics. I love watching all that stuff. Call me more of a fair weather fan, I guess, of lots of sporting stuff.
You're
but
monitoring India closely in the Cricket World Cup right
absolutely, now. Yes, indeed. The Cricket World Cup is the focus of my attention at the moment. So yeah, we're hoping to get some good stuff happening there. It seems to be going pretty well for the Indians. So
Scotland are playing England next, actually.
Oh, that'll be a fun one to keep
England
an eye
have
on.
lost their first 2 games, so Scotland.
Well, can the Scottish put them in their place? Probably not, unfortunately. The way that Scottish cricket generally goes, but we'll see. But in terms of games, Bally, have you played many sports games in general?
Oh, hardly any. I used to play,
which I find really weird. The fact that you're such a big sports fan, but you don't really care about the game side of them.
Part of it's to do with the fact that for a while now, the big sports franchises haven't kept up with Nintendo systems. There was a period where I played quite a lot of multiplayer NHL with my flatmates at uni on the Xbox 360 and then the PS3 actually, and I really enjoyed that. We were all like similar level. We'd have some really good matches, and ice hockey works really well in terms of gaming. I could never get into NFL, both to watch or to play the video game or anything, so mainly I played a bit of NHL. I used to play the 1998 World Cup football game on the N64. I played that a lot when I was younger, and it was an okay game. At the time, I absolutely loved it. Looking back, there's far better football games or soccer games now. And then, yeah, I've dabbled in, well, not dabbled, I've played quite a lot of Mario Tennis and Mario Golf and the Mario Sports franchises, but I've not played a huge amount of sort of realistic simulator sports games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty similar. I had a couple of football games on the PS1. This is Football '98 and FIFA 2000. FIFA 2000 still probably one of my favorite games ever.
Really?
I love FIFA 2000. The thing that was really enjoyable about it was that the AI was just so awful that I could just run just rings around them, and I'd win games like 20-0, and it was just a fun time. I just enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a cool game, even though it's very limited these days. Funnily enough, though, when it comes to other sports, I own a couple of cricket games, and in fact, recently, you and I, Bally, played a cricket game that I bought secondhand on the Wii. I think we should definitely record a video of this one day. It's Ashes cricket. I can't remember what year it is, maybe 2009 or something, but I bought this Ashes cricket game on the Wii, and it uses motion controls, and surprisingly, I think it worked alright. I think it actually worked not too bad.
Are you for real?
Yeah, I am for real. I thought it was better than I expected, honestly. The way it controlled.
Worse
so
than I expected, but yeah.
Well, the thing is that Bally and I had this obsession of watching Giant Bomb play cricket games, because they have the typical Americans. They don't know what cricket is or how you play it or any of the rules. So they have a couple of videos of them, looking at different cricket games, and it is pure comedy gold.
Because it's two hurdles. Because the first hurdle is understanding the rules of cricket, and then the second hurdle is playing a really god awful game, and it's just the combination makes for real high quality watching.
Yes, indeed. So I saw that and I was like, you know what? It's an Ashes cricket game. I got to get this and we got to try it out. And we had quite a fun time with that one. So I'm glad that we managed to play it, and maybe in the future we'll do more. So
I'm excited to envisage what the Americans listening to our show right now are thinking when you say the Ashes.
Yeah.
Look it up. It's interesting, but yeah.
Yes, it is indeed. All right, next question that he has.
Yeah, so number 2. I'm not really a huge 2D platformer kind of guy. Ugh, can't get my words out. Sorry, I had an air bubble. I'm not really a huge 2D platformer kind of guy, but recently I've had an urge to try out either Shovel Knight or Rogue Legacy. But I was wondering which of these you'd recommend and why. I know they both are very good games and I can't really go wrong, but I just wanted an opinion. Thanks for your time, lads. I'll be sure to write in again soon. P.S. Keep up the great YouTube content, Zed. Love your channel.
Thank you very much, James. I'm glad you are enjoying stuff. 2D platformers, we've got to decide between Shovel Knight and Rogue Legacy. This, Bally, is probably the Sophie's choice of my life right now.
Yes.
You obviously haven't played Rogue Legacy, so...
Yeah, I really want to give it a go. I'm just a bit locked out of it. But yeah, no, I obviously will highly back Shovel Knight because I think that's a fantastic game. But yeah, what would you say, MBZ?
Oh god, it's really hard. The easy answer is buy both, because they are both fantastic and you can't go wrong. I would say that maybe Shovel Knight is the one to start on. And the reason I say that is because it's a much shorter experience. It's something that you can get immediate satisfaction out of, and is, I feel, like a little more relevant right now in terms of just, the gaming landscape. It's been out more recently than Rogue Legacy has. And Rogue Legacy is something you can go back to later, but the thing with Rogue Legacy is that it's a deep, dark hole. And if you start down that deep, dark hole, you probably will not get out of it for a very, very long time. So my recommendation would be, first of all, get both. They're both fantastic. Play Shovel Knight first, enjoy it, soak it all in, and then go ahead and just drown yourself in Rogue Legacy, because it will take the rest of your life and do nasty, nasty things with it. So,
one of my friends who sometimes listens to our show, Alex, he absolutely loves Rogue Legacy. He was telling me that I have to just download it and give it a go.
And the thing is, Bally, with the PC that you currently have, which is a Mac laptop, you could probably very easily run Rogue Legacy. It's a 2D game. The artwork isn't too complex. The backgrounds are pretty simple. The only thing you'd really need is like a 360 controller or something to that effect, which you can get pretty cheaply online. But I guess, maybe you'll wait until you maybe have better means of playing it than that. But it's kind of one of those must-play things. And I keep telling you, like Hearthstone, you just need to download it and try it and give it a go. Because it's fun.
I've got too much to play.
That's true, but you know what? Here's an interesting thing. There is a thing with Steam called Steam Family Sharing, and what that allows you to do is basically give access to your Steam library to another person. So I could basically give you access to my entire Steam library, and you wouldn't have to pay $1. You just have to go in there and play Rogue Legacy straight off my my thing. So there's ways, Bally.
Yeah.
There are ways of us to get this working, but in due time.
Well, shall we move on to the final question then for this week?
We should indeed. Let's go.
So it's from Andrew. Hey guys, quick thought popped into my head and thought it would be a good discussion on your wonderful podcast. Let's say a season pass for Smash Brothers is announced, levels, assists, trophies, music and characters. Let's say Mewtwo is already part of it, but you're allowed any 3 characters in the game. The only snag is they have to have appeared on a Nintendo system and they can't be first party. Mine would be Bayonetta, Travis Touchdown, and Zack and Wiki. What are your 3 picks? Go! First of all, who is Travis Touchdown?
Bally, you need to get your head in gear, son. Travis Touchdown, the one and only main character of the No More Heroes franchise. Travis Touchdown, quite a badass, I have to say. He's a great pick, actually, and he is synonymous with Nintendo platforms because No More Heroes was originally a Wii game, and the sequel was on that system as well. It was eventually re-released on PS3, I believe, with PlayStation Move support, but No More Heroes is definitely at home on Nintendo systems. Yeah, that's a really good idea, I have to say. We have talked quite a bit in the past about characters we'd love to see in Smash Brothers who are, I guess, third party but associated with Nintendo. My picks generally are going to be of the Layton versus Wright variety. I would love to see both Professor Layton and Phoenix Wright pop up. I think they could both be super duper unique and have some really interesting movesets applied to them and just be standout characters. Anything that comes to mind for you, Bally, at all?
I would absolutely love to see Shovel Knight.
Yes. Yeah, we did talk about this before, yeah.
He could be two-dimensional just like Game & Watch. He could have an amazing move set. And, I mean, like, Sony, they're doing the whole Kratos thing, right? So that'd be another massive feather in Nintendo's cap if they could persuade, or I don't even know how that deal would work with Yacht Club Games, but I think that'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people would download that as well.
Oh yeah, no, just the way that Shovel Knight has gone down generally has been pretty fantastic across the board, and it's nice that it has the Nintendo association right out the starting gates because it was exclusive console anyway to Nintendo platforms, and now is starting to be moved around, but. Started there. The influences on it are definitely of the Nintendo, cut from Nintendo cloth, so it makes sense that he would be on the system.
I really can't think of other video game characters I'd be keen to have in that aren't first party.
For me, I'd probably have to say a Castlevania character of some description. Probably Simon Belmont would make the most sense. But he really just, it makes so much, logical sense to go to grab a Castlevania character because you have Mega Man who's so associated with the NES and he's on there, and Castlevania was such a big part of it, and Konami aren't really represented in the roster as it seems of Smash Brothers, so I would love to see that kind of character thrown into the mix, and I think it would be really, really interesting how that moveset played out, so I have to throw that into the hat.
Actually, we could mention this as well. And this has a whole story behind it, but it'd be cool if Rayman was in the game.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and we should mention that there was a supposed leak of Rayman being a DLC character in the game that a few days later was then proven to be fake, as the guy who faked it made a video describing how he faked it, and that is some seriously impressive video editing, and if you haven't seen that video yet, honestly look it up on YouTube, because it kind of opens the floodgates, meaning that anything is possible in terms of people being able to claim what is a leak and what's not, like, because it's so hard to disprove. Basically, it's done so well.
Absolutely, it is Boy, it's a dangerous hole to fall down now. It's almost to the point where like no one's going to believe any leak anymore because of what has happened with that.
Basically.
That was crazy though. It was so fantastically put together. I mean, you know, that guy is talented as hell, and I can only respect him for it. I know a lot of people were angry, but I have nothing but the utmost respect for his talent. It's pretty crazy. So. All right, I think that is the last of the emails, Bally, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, keep them coming. We need more, like we were saying at the start of the segment. The email address is nyppquestions@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because we will be right back after this short break with the return of fan favourite segment, of course, the Jukebox. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Alright everyone, welcome back to the third and final part of our show. Once again, we are returning to our favourite recurring segment. It's the Jukebox. Now, if you're a new listener here, you don't know what's going on, the Jukebox is a segment where we listen to video game music, but it's not as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. Each time that we play this game, Bally and I will swap roles as the mastermind. This time it is my turn. I will play 5 songs from video games that Bally has played to him. We'll both listen to them, and of course you at home will listen to them as well. And Bally has to guess what game the music is from. Bonus points if you guess the name of the song, though that is extremely tough because getting that is, it's difficult as it is. So we'll see how it goes. But as always, feel free to play along at home and tweet us your scores at the end, and we would like to hear about that because that's always a good time. So
I'm feeling nervous.
Well, you better be.
I gave you a couple of absolute stinkers last time, so I'm ready for it.
Boy, oh boy, it's time for revenge. So what do you say? Let's get into this segment, Bally.
Let's go for the first song.
All right, here we go. I should mention, Bally, that the first 3 songs that I've selected have a pseudo-running theme going through them. So if you spot that, then you'll probably be able to maybe help yourself. But interested in your initial thoughts here on this track.
I'm really stuck.
It's a hard one. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh
It's
boy.
a tough one.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Like, let's go for sound quality. Sound quality. So it can't be like GBA, SNES. I'm thinking. So it has to be, you know, I'm thinking GameCube for some reason.
Okay.
It's between GameCube, N64, maybe Wii.
Hmm.
Oh dear. Right. Let me think.
Do you need a hint question, or do you want to struggle?
Let me struggle a little bit more, because I think it's like it's. Oh God, I can't even describe it. It's like a tropical / desert theme.
Interesting.
But it's not. God, I'm really stuck. Let's have a hint then.
Okay, so this game was available at the launch of a certain console, and you bought it.
Okay, right. I'm starting to think. Sounds really crazy. These games are completely opposite to each other, but it's between Pilot Wings Resort
Okay.
and Legends of Zelda Twilight Princess in that case.
Interesting.
I'm going to go with The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess.
Well, Bally, you're wrong.
Boy.
And we've already used Twilight Princess.
Yeah, maybe.
So probably should have indicated. Yes, I was being a little bit of an asshole here. This is a tough one. It is Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz from the Wii.
Oof.
Yes, indeed.
Oof, I knew the music, but obviously I didn't know what game it was from. For the Wii.
Yeah, and so this track is called Volcanic Pools. I imagine it's from a lava-themed level.
Did I get this game at launch?
I believe we both had it at launch for the Wii. I definitely did.
I'm pretty sure I just bought.
Well, Bally, look, let's not try and justify things here. Let's just keep rolling.
I'm stumped.
Absolutely. Well, what do you think of Banana Blitz's music? Do you remember? Clearly, you probably don't remember much of it. It's kind of like more background stuff. But I think Monkey Ball has kind of, a nice amount of good music to it. So
it's a really good game. Obviously, I think the gameplay is more solid than the music, perhaps. And this was actually a Monkey Ball game that I actually completed. I think it's the only Monkey Ball game I've ever completed.
I think that's the same for me as well. The DS one was really tough. I'm not sure if I got to the end. And the first two are they are the kingpins of difficulty as far as Monkey Ball games go.
And I think we must have told this story on the podcast before.
We must have done, but it is an infamous story nonetheless. So go ahead, Bally.
So, I was round at your house, NBZ, and we were blasting our way through some of the many mini games that this game has to offer. I
believe 50 in total was the number.
And one of our favourites that we played a good amount of was the baseball. It was basically like a home run sort of derby game, where you just have to try and hit as many home runs as possible.
Of course, being a launch Wii game, motion controls were at the peak at this point in time, so you had to swing your Wii remote to hit it, of course.
Exactly, and there was no such thing as the reinforced straps or the protective cover, and a ball was basically pitched at me, and I swung that Wiimote as hard as I could, and my hand was a bit sweaty. It slipped out of my hand. It then broke the strap that was holding it to my wrist and flew straight into the window of your living room.
It did. And didn't break any windows, but kind of rendered that Wii remote completely useless for the rest of its life.
It never synced up properly ever again. And we just both kind of stared at each other with our mouths wide open. It was a weird feeling, but yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and I also hit the ball really, really far. I got
you also got the record that
yes.
we'd been trying to beat for ages with that exact hit. So good things came of it, I guess, in the end. But at the cost of your poor Wii remote. And you wore the strap. You paid attention to Nintendo's rules, but the strap.
Exactly, that is the worst part. Is I paid attention to the rules, wore the strap, and it still broke. And I was one of the many people that was the reason that they eventually changed it to a reinforced strap.
Yep.
Wish I'd had it at that time, but yeah.
Well, in any case, it's a really awesome game. I guess the motion controls are hit or miss dependent, but I think they worked okay at the time.
Yeah, they were good. It's a good game.
Yeah, so nice to revisit and talk about that. So, Bally, what do you say we get into the next track?
Yeah, let's go.
Kind of similar, I feel, in some ways to the last track. Wonder if my theming is getting through there.
This is an easy one.
Okay.
This is something we might even be listening to in a couple of months.
Absolutely, and that was kind of the reason that I chose to place this in here as kind of a segue to that.
So last time I was very wrong with Twilight Princess, but this game hasn't come up yet in the Jukebox, which is another indicator. I knew I was right, but this game is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
Indeed, this track is in fact Elden Volcano, so maybe you're understanding my theme. Volcanic pools from Banana Blitz, Elden Volcano from Skyward Sword.
What's Banana Blitz got to do with volcanic?
I'm just saying it's a hot level.
Oh, it's a hot level. I see.
Right, it's a volcano. It's all about the lava.
Right.
So that's the theme there. Bally, Skyward Sword has fucking fantastic music.
Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. This game has a few flaws, and I know you like this game more than I do, but its music is flawless. It is so good, especially the main theme, Ballad of the Goddess.
Yeah, probably one of my favorite Zelda tracks of all time. That one, and the mind-blowing thing about it is that when you rewind it, it is in fact I can't remember what song it is now.
It's Zelda's Lullaby.
It's Zelda's Lullaby. Yes. That's the one. Zelda's Lullaby.
Also, a little bit of info I learned on the internet the last few days is that the theme from Lorule Castle in A Link Between Worlds is actually Hyrule Castle theme.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in reverse.
Very interesting. Yeah. Huh? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense though. But Bally, before you were alluding to a thing that both of us will be attending, so why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Zelda Symphony are coming to London.
Yes, they are indeed.
And we have picked up tickets. It's going to be on April the 17th.
Yes, indeed.
At Wembley Arena. So NBZ's going to come on down to London with myself, and we're going to get on over to the Wembley Arena and listen to some Zelda music.
I'm really excited, Bally. I think, this, ever since they started announcing these, I thought it was going to be such a limited run, because of the 25th anniversary. It seemed like it was just this one and done thing, and that I would never be able to go to one. But it's proved to be such a rousing success. They have continued to do these and trot them out all across the world because people love them and think they're so great. And it's also just a fantastic opportunity for Nintendo to market the current Zelda that they have in the pipeline. At the moment it's Majora's Mask 3D, so I believe they have a medley for Majora's Mask going on, and they'll have stuff from all the other games as well. So absolutely really looking forward to this, and
maybe we should try and play as many Zelda games before then, actually.
Yeah, maybe maybe we should try and get to Majora's Mask so that we can appreciate all of those songs. A lot of them I know well anyway from having seen videos and stuff over the years of that game. But excellent stuff. This track in particular from Skyward Sword, I didn't want to particularly pick something that was too obvious. I feel like this is like kind of an understated one, but you do hear it a lot throughout the game because you're back in Eldin loads of times. As the nature of the structure of Skyward Sword is you're going back to these same areas. This is one of those kind of in the background ones that will really get into your head, and you'll kind of pick it up as you go along. So good that you managed to get that point
Yeah.
there, Bally. So you actually have a point here, which is nice.
Got something on the board.
Indeed. Well, very good stuff. Let's move on to the third pick here. Without further ado. So, Bally, I may be a little bit of a cheater here with this track. So, if you recognize it, but you're thinking, I've never played a game in that series before, then just kind of maybe think a little outside the box. Although this is probably the hardest track that I have picked out. So,
but this music is so familiar to me, and I'm like, I can't quite put my finger on what it's from. So I'm gonna have to work this out. I'm gonna have to write this out, right? It's really retro sounding.
yes, it is.
This is a game I've played.
It is absolutely, yes, guaranteed.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go for. I'm thinking like Game Boy,
Okay.
SNES, Game Boy,
Yeah.
NES.
Right
Right, one of
feelers
these
out there.
three. One of these three. Right.
Now, I don't want you to take too long here, Bally, because we are short on time.
Okay. Hit me with a clue.
So. Oh boy, I haven't really got one prepared, unfortunately. So it's hard to pick one out. But I think I feel like you're not gonna get to this.
But
So
I completely disagree because I like know this song so well for some
okay,
reason.
give me a guess because otherwise we will literally be here all day.
All right. I give up, to be honest. Like Mario something.
Mario something. when all else fails, Mario something. Okay, so I'll tell you why you recognize this song.
Okay.
Bally. Because this game is originally from Castlevania, the Castlevania series.
Okay.
Now, of course, you've never played a Castlevania game before, so how the hell can I be allowed to use this? Surely that is blasphemous.
But I've definitely have heard this in a game I've played, though. You're right.
Well, the game that you have heard this in is a GBA title by the name of Konami Crazy Racers.
Oh my god.
And the reason I found this really fascinating is because I was looking through your games on your backlogger and I thought, Crazy Racers, that's a great game to pick out and choose a song from. And as I was looking through the list and the tracks that they have on there, I came across this one. This one is called Magma Castle. I assume that's one of the tracks in the game.
Like, I've played so many hours of Crazy Racers. That's why this tune was so like ingrained in me. If that makes sense. Oh my god.
And so I instantly recognized this as originally from Castlevania, and I was like, whoa, okay, that's really interesting because obviously this game's made by Konami. Konami, head up Castlevania. So they have basically taken from this franchise and just full cloth ripped it into this game, and it kind of makes me curious. It's like, what is there Metal Gear music rolling around in Crazy Racers somewhere? Are they kind of sticking all these interesting franchises they have?
That is so funny that I put so many hours into that game, and like, I mean, you didn't care about Castlevania at the time, but it's so funny that like I've listened to that music so much, and yeah, really weird.
Yeah, so that was my me being a bit of an asshole with my choice.
Nah, but I could have got that.
Yeah. Do you have fond memories of the music of Crazy Racers in general?
Yes, I loved everything about Crazy Racers. I got it launch day with my Game Boy Advance system. Played absolutely tons of it. All without the backlight, obviously. And yeah, I just love every aspect of that game. It's really good. I've sunk a lot of hours into it, and that, like, the same with Monkey Ball, which I spent a lot of time with, and both those songs they're in my head and I know them, but I just couldn't place them at all. in terms of what games they were.
Well, I'm curious if you were to go back to this game and see how well it would hold up, and what your opinions would be of it nowadays. I think
I
a
should give that
cool
a go
thing
at
to
some
do.
point.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Konami Crazy Races. That's a real kind of out of the blue one, but I just heard that and I thought, wow, this is perfect. This is a dastardly
Topical.
pick. Yes, it's topical as well, obviously, because I talked about Castlevania, and I believe that song is remixed in Circle of the Moon as well. So there you go. It's a very well-known one, and for good reason, because it's a great track. It's really, really good.
Cool.
Okay, Bally, let's move on to something I think probably you'll find a little softer and easier. So how about we move on to the fourth track in our lineup?
Let's go for it.
Alright, I think this one it's one of those tracks that I have known for a long time and has bounced around in my head. Is this sounding familiar to you, Bally?
Yes, most of our multiplayer childhood was spent on this, with this song in the background, and us bickering about who knows the rules to the minigame or not, sort of thing. Like,
Yes,
so this is Mario Party 4.
That is absolutely correct. Do you remember what board this is from specifically? Is your knowledge that detailed, Bally?
It's the main one. It's the original one. I don't know the name of it though.
It's called Toad's Midway Madness.
Toad's Midway, I believe.
Madness. So that was one of the boards in Mario Party 4. Yes, this was the first Mario Party game that I owned. I believe was it the first one. Did you have one on the N64 before this?
No, I never did. They were too hard to find by the time I owned an N64.
Yeah, but probably one of the most popular franchises on the N64, I'd imagine, Mario Party series. I had experience of playing the second one, I believe, at another friend of ours' house back in the day, so I had experience with it, but really when the GameCube rolled around and this came into being, this was like the focus, aside from Smash Brothers Melee, of course, of many of our multiplayer sessions. I remember my birthday in particular, when a lot of people were around, we were all playing Mario Party 4 and having a great time with it. Of course, just bickering like children.
There's a famous video of us all playing it that one day we should put on the internet.
We probably should do that at some point. That would be rather hilarious, I have to say.
Yes.
So the music of Mario Party, I feel, is just ingrained into you.
Yes.
Dependent on how much you've played it, of course. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like the best music in the world or anything, unnoteworthy, but it's like there, and it's just so repetitive because you're on these boards again and again and again, that there is no way that you don't recall this music.
And we just have such fond memories of that game that this music just matches those memories. Like, it's just it's almost like elevator music. It's nothing over the top or special, but it's just really like, we could like reminisce about all the hours we spent on that game.
Absolutely, it hits a nostalgia bone.
Yeah,
and kind of resonates in that way. So, good stuff. Mario Party 4, it's a fun time. There are like 12 others right now. So. Also, Mario Party 4 is going to be the next one that Giant Bomb play in their ongoing Mario Party feature, which I'm looking forward to greatly, because having had years of experience with Mario Party 4, knowing the mini games and everything, I think I'll get a lot more out of watching that one. So I'm excited for when that rolls around. But I feel like we should probably go ahead and move on to the final track of the day. You have how many so far? You've got two
out of 4.
Yeah, not too bad, Bally. Doing all right. Yeah. Let's see if you can make it a nice 3. Let's move on to the 5th track. Now, Bally, I mentioned before about Mario Party, that music giving me like a tinge of nostalgia.
Hmm.
This track is one that hit me like a wave of nostalgia when I heard it,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if you got the same feeling
Oh yeah, like I
as
knew
me.
this one seconds into it. Like this is Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life
Indeed, for the
for
GameCube,
the
for the
GameCube,
Nintendo GameCube.
and I think I sunk a few more hours than you did into this one. I don't know.
I think we both spent a huge amount of time playing this Harvest Moon game.
Yeah,
Of course, this was actually my first and really my only Harvest Moon that I'd ever gotten into. You famously were, a big advocate of the GBA game,
yes,
and you and a
yes,
couple of other of our friends really got deep
yeah.
into that version. Um,
I absolutely love Harvest Moon. It's probably if you can even call it an RPG, it's probably the only other RPG I've played other than like Pokemon, really. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it an
it's like a life sim
RPG.
game,
It's
I
more of a
guess.
simulator, right?
Yes.
But like, it definitely has, progression and stuff to it. So, to some degree, I
But
can
yeah,
agree
I
with you
was
there.
obsessed with Friends of Mineral Town, which was the GBA version, and then I probably preferred the GBA one to the GameCube one, but only because it was just shorter days and you could get more done, and it felt like the ramp up was far quicker. I felt the GameCube one was incredibly slow and like
Yeah,
the looking after your crops and things was incredibly hard work, and in order to get sort of say a watering can that sprays on multiple spaces, it was a real slog. And I don't really feel like, even though I feel like I spent an awful lot of hours on this game, I don't feel like I advanced very far. But don't get me wrong, I think the music and the atmosphere of A Wonderful Life was incredible, and it's such a beautiful game. And like, if I just decided to give up games for like 2 months, I could just happily play this game for maybe like half an hour a day for 2 months, and I'd have an absolutely amazing time because I just love that progression, and it's just so relaxing. And it's almost like Animal Crossing, but I actually prefer Harvest Moon to Animal Crossing,
yeah, I
in that
definitely I
way.
can agree with that one. Harvest Moon is the sense of accomplishment is far greater. I feel as you kind of build up your farm and just get better and better stuff. And obviously, there's the progression in terms of marriage and having kids, and like then eventually like passing it down. I believe I got to I think after the first year is when you get married and then have a child and
Hmm.
start looking after it, and then kind of stop playing after that. But I totally agree with you that I could just eschew all other games for a period of time and just sit and relax. And that is, like, I think relax is the prime word to use when
Yes.
describing this game, because it is just such a chilled out experience. And one that I just adored. I just thought, like, I played this before I'd ever played an Animal Crossing game because both of our first Animal Crossing games was Wild World on DS, and so I think I really got the thing that most people get with Animal Crossing first in Harvest Moon, and I'd probably say still to this day that Harvest Moon is a more approachable game. And
And like I did quite a lot of the DS game as well, but I had like a faulty cartridge, or there was some glitch with my game that caused my save file to be really dodgy, and I lost it a couple of times. And like in a game like Harvest Moon, that just completely ruins any enjoyment in that game because it's so crucial about the progression. So
yeah,
like, I mean, the DS game was had its flaws.
I think there were multiple DS games as well,
Yeah,
and I don't know, which ones were good. And we've kind of got this point in Harvest Moon where like there are so many of them coming out, and I don't know which ones are good and which ones aren't. There's also like this legal battle that happened between I think Natsume and another company to where one company owns the name Harvest Moon, but the other company actually makes the better Harvest Moon game, so they have to release it under another title. And it's a whole big mishmash. And honestly, like, I don't care enough to look into which are the good ones and which aren't, because there are just too damn many of them coming out these days for me to
I mean,
keep up with.
coming to think of it, I would actually be interested in looking at which is perhaps the best 3DS version of the game and
Sure,
giving
yeah.
it a go. And like, I mean, because it is a series I really love. Or maybe just downloading the NES. Is it NES or SNES? I think it's SNES version.
Probably, yeah.
One of those two, and just like having a go with that, because it's just such a great format, an unbelievable format. Really love it. But yeah, good pick. Was that Spring?
The song is called the Breeze Song.
The Breeze Song.
I'm not quite sure. I feel like it's
the
general being on your farm melody that plays.
Do you remember you could get records and then change the music?
Yeah, wow.
And
yeah,
you got more records by linking it up with the GBA game.
Right, yeah, there was connectivity there back in the day between those two versions, which you obviously got some use out of as you had both.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, Bally. You scored a admirable 3 out of 5 this time. Had some nasty picks in there, but
Crazy
some good
Racers,
ones as well.
Wow, that was a real tester, but it was really interesting. I like that one. Good pick.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of surprised me, and I was like, wow, for the fascination of it, I have to put it in there. So,
but that's my aim for next time, is to get that feeling in you where you have definitely heard that song, where you just can't quite place where you heard it, because that's the best bit about this game, is that you just know the songs, but you can't place them.
Yes. Of course, feel free, as we said at the start of the segment, to let us know how you did. You can find us on Twitter to tell us. So, Bally, where can people find you?
My name on Twitter is @Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN 91. Yeah, do give me a follow. It'd be much appreciated. And that is also my name on the Miiverse. I've been posting a lot of Bit Trip Runner, and I'll probably post a few more things from the next couple of games which I'll be playing, which I think are going to be Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Game Boy Advance Ambassador Program, and Gunman and Clive 1, I think. So
yes, very good.
Trying to use my new 3DS, so there we go.
Excellent. Gunman and Clive, it's a hell of a game, Bally. Looking forward to you playing that. Be good fun. You can also find me on the internet. I am at Lordnbz on Twitter, and that is the same for the Miiverse, as I've been saying. I've been posting screenshots of Castlevania Circle of the Moon, mainly as soon as I've beaten a boss, because during the act of fighting a boss, I'm so intensely focused that I don't remember to like pause it and show you like what it looks like on the Miiverse. So mainly it's just like these flaming images of all these creatures dying, which it's certainly a thing within itself. So you can go check those out on my Miiverse page. Yeah, so there we go. You can write into us, of course. Send us some emails to our email address, and Bally will let you know what that is.
NYPPQuestions@gmail.com.
We need more. We're getting very, very low. So please, I implore you to give us some interesting questions, some topics, some things to chew on. And there's some good stuff happening in the world of Nintendo. The new Kirby game has come out in North America. Obviously, we don't have it here right now. So if you have any thoughts, impressions on that, let us know through the email address. We'd be very eager to find out. And of course, you can listen to the show on iTunes. This show goes out early to iTunes subscribers, and if you're listening to the YouTube version and you're wondering, hey, how can I get this show exactly when it posts, you can head over to your podcasting service of choice, and it should be there available to download. Just search for Now You're Playing with Power, and you can of course subscribe to the show, which means that it will be downloaded automatically into your feed. You will not even have to do any legwork. The internet is a wonderful thing, Bally. It does it all for you.
It's magical. That feeling of just getting new podcasts, it's just a magical feeling.
Every day
I look forward to, waking up, refresh my podcast. Oh, that's what I've got to listen to for today.
It's brilliant. So we encourage you to do that and follow in our ways. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to close out our show. So thank you once again for listening. We will return in a couple of weeks' time. But until then, thank you very much. Goodbye. The musical interludes used in today's show were a remix of Awake from Castlevania Circle of the Moon by youtube.com/teckworks, and from the Bit Trip Runner 2 soundtrack, the Runner 2 theme. Copyright Gaijin Games 2013.
Yes.
Eye of the Timer is the... Oh, yeah, I should talk to you about that. Never mind.
Talk to me about what?
No, because Dan beat Mike Tyson in Punch-Out on his
yeah.
first day of doing it.
Yeah.
The video, I was actually there live. Is
it premium content?
Yes, it's a premium video. But like, because I was on Skype with Lalsa, and she's trying to do her dissertation, start her getting ideas for her dissertation.
Yeah.
And so she wants to do it on like the music industry. I don't know how the fuck this has anything to do with geography, but she wants to do it on because she tells me like, oh, geography's everything. I'm like, that is such fucking bullshit, but whatever. Anyway, so she wants to do it on like the music industry and basically how piracy has affected the music industry and that kind of shit. So I was like giving her ideas and shit. But at the same time, Giant Bomb just went live, and I was like, so I was basically like not paying attention, like the same thing I do with you, where I just don't pay attention, and I'm like watching something else. So I'm just like saying yeah, because I'm just watching Dan. He just started playing Punch-Out. She's like, you're not paying attention to me, are you? I'm like, yeah, sure. The music in this Pirate Bay, yeah, it's really bad. And then, like, I'm like, right, Lars, I can't do this right now. This man is playing Punch-Out. I need to watch this shit.
Priorities.
And then, like, I'm watching, and like, he's going okay, and he's doing pretty well, and he's like, Drew, this is the best run I've ever had. Drew, you're my lucky charm. Like, this is fucking amazing. And like, it's like the most insane thing. He does the final punch, and the chat goes nuts. The chat fucking explodes. It was amazing. I was so happy because I saw it live. It was so good.
This is on Punch-Out.
Yeah, it's Mike Tyson's, because so originally there was two versions of Punch-Out. There's, I believe, the first Punch-Out on NES, and there's a special version which is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Or maybe I think Mike Tyson's Punch-Out came first, and then because of licensing issues, they had to make another one which he wasn't in. Okay. So he's the final boss, and he's considered like one of the hardest things in games, like to beat.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's like insanely difficult. And so there's this thing that Dan hasn't been able to do for 25 years. And then first day of the feature, Eye of the Riker, he just does it 40 minutes in.